Mechamaru and Panda are the next two characters coming out in Jujutsu Kaisen Phantom Parade, and guys, we are getting a new character every week of February. Hopefully, most of these characters will be skip characters, especially after the hidden inventory banners. I know most people are broke, so most people probably aren't even going to be summoning on these two banners. But the purpose of today's video is if you are someone like me who wants to summon for as many characters as you can and potentially collect as many characters as you can, I want to talk about which one of these characters is better in my eyes and which one you want to potentially go for. Now, I do want to say everybody is going to get a free multi on each of these banners, so I want to tell you which one is actually better if you get lucky and get one of these characters off the free tickets. So first off, I'm going to go to the JP tier list. I'm going to show you where these characters are on the JP tier list, then we're going to break down their kits, and I'm going to give you my opinion of who is going to have more value long term in the game for Jujutsu Kaisen Phantom Parade. So this is the JP tier list for manual battles. Okay, there's also a JP tier list for auto battles. It does not matter which one we look at because these two characters are in the same tier on both. So SS is the best of the best. We have Sukuna, Domingo, Joe, Yuta, all these characters up here, right? Hidden inventory characters are also here, to nobody's surprise, right? But then if we scroll down, we're looking for Mechamaru and Red Panda. Well, we have the new Mechamaru up here in S+, but that's not who we're looking for. Keep going down, and then second to the bottom tier, because the JP tier list only goes down to B tier. Anything below B tier is considered a character that's not really useful. We have A tier, and we have these characters here. So you might recognize this Inumaki, this Panda, who don't get used that much, but they're okay, right? They have their uses on global. They're kind of mediocre. Well, Mechamaru and Panda are also in the same tier. I hate to say it. They are not the best characters, but what this is it's good news because they're skippable characters, very skippable characters after hidden inventory characters. So you guys do not have to summon for them. Okay, but I do like one of these characters more than the other, and if I had to choose, I would potentially pull for one of these characters over the other. So let's go ahead and start with Mechamaru, since he is coming out first. He is coming out on the 7th, Panda is coming out on the 14th, and we're going to talk about everything that he can do right now on global when he's going to release, but we're also going to talk about everything he's going to be able to do in the future, because he does get buffed. So right now on global, his skill 1 is called Boost On. It just does melee taijutsu damage 100%. Post adjustment doesn't change much, just a little bit more damage. At level 10, same thing, right? So nothing too crazy for skill 1. That's it, done. On to the next skill. Skill 2, his bread and butter, the thing that makes him really, really good, post adjusted. Not right now. Okay, so pre-adjustment grants counter status to self for 2 turns, increases own break damage by 40% for 2 turns. And then counter status, when targeted by an enemy single target melee attack, you'll counter 1 time per turn. So you're not even going to be able to counter multiple times in a turn. Keep that in mind. Not anything too crazy right there. Pre-adjustment. This is how he's going to release on global, looking just like this. Now, post-adjustment, this character will get buffed later, and that break damage goes up to 50%. Okay, that's still not that great. So then recently on JP, they had the new Hidden Potential system release. And with the addition of the Hidden Potential system, this skill, post-adjusted, now turns into this skill. And this is much better when you think about the implications, okay? So grants counter status to self for 2 turns, okay? That's the same thing. Not anything too crazy here, but then here's where it starts to get a lot better. Increases own break damage, and then taijutsu damage, and critical hit rate by 50% for 2 turns. That is much better than just doing break damage, because now having taijutsu damage and critical hit rate, that is going to be phenomenal when you think about the fact that this lasts for 2 turns, because if you use this skill right before your ultimate, it's going to go crazy, guys. This character is going to be one of the best break characters, I think, in the game. Like for global, it's going to, man, how soon does the buff come though? It's going to come fairly quickly, like by May, probably May or June we'll get the buff. So I mean, it might be more like July by the time we get the potential system. I don't know, we'll have to see. It's going to be a bit, but he's still going to be very good in the future. Right now, I wish they would release the potential system right now. He would be so good. And then attracts the selected enemy's attacks for 2 turns, 1 time. Counter status, once again, when targeted by an enemy, single target attack for 1 time per turn, deals 200 to 140% melee taijutsu damage to the counter damage, increases countered enemies damage received by 50% for 2 turns. Okay, so this is also really good. So if you increase the counter enemies damage received by 50%, you are boosting your own taijutsu damage, your own critical hit rate, and your own break damage, and then you have an ultimate going right after the skill. Oh my gosh, bro, this is really, really good. I'm gonna skip the skill 3 for a second. I'm gonna come back to that, but then imagine we do the ultimate after doing that skill, right? So post adjustment, I'm gonna skip. Okay, pre-adjustment, post-adjustment just changes the damage, right? So increases own break damage by 126%, and then you do taijutsu and jujutsu damage. But then you also have an SP potential right here. So with the hidden potential system, now with this, increases own break damage by 300% 1 time on the ultimate. So you're getting 300% break damage right here. If you do the skill 2 before that, you're getting 50% break damage, plus critical hit rate, plus taijutsu damage, plus an extra 50% damage received. Your ultimate is going to go crazy. And then he will go on to deal melee combined damage equal to 900% taijutsu and 600% jujutsu to the selected enemy for 6 hits. Keep in mind, though, to get these hidden potential skills, eventually when the hidden potential does come out, you have to have the ultimate level 10, and you'll have to have his skill 2 level 10. But this character, in my opinion, this right here, looking at this stuff, gets me hyped. Looking at how he's going to release on global, meh. He's very, very meh. He's not great. I'll tell you right now, he's definitely skippable right now. But if you want to plan for the future, I do think he's kind of worth pulling on in a way. But then his skill 3, because we did skip it, Ultra Spin. Increases own break damage by 120%, deals melee combined damage equal to 120% taijutsu and 85% jujutsu. Post adjustment just increases the percentages a little bit, not anything too crazy right there. And then his auto skills do change a little bit. So we have Puppet Body at the start of the battle, grants poison, instant kill resist, grants darkness, stun, confusion, reverse curse technique, immunity to self, because he's a puppet, obviously. That doesn't change, but then he gets the additional effect of break enhancement at the start of the battle, increases own break damage by 80%. So if we're adding this up, right, that is 300% break damage, plus another from skill 2, where are we at, skill 2 right here, plus another 50% break damage, plus another 80% break damage, plus receiving extra damage right here if they get countered, plus increased crit rate and taijutsu damage, going back to the auto skill, plus another 100% overall damage if they're in break state. Okay, so you'll hit even harder if you break them afterwards. it's insane. And then if the selected enemy, oh, that's just in general, actually, an extra 100% damage. Wait, is it effective when enemy is in break state? I don't know if you get that the way it's worded. It's weird. I think you get that before the break state, but I could be wrong. And then right here, if the selected enemy enters break state after the attack, increases own damage dealt by 150% for 3 turns. So you're going to get additional damage even after you break them. So this guy's going to be a breaking machine, and he's going to get benefit from breaking enemies because he's going to get even more damage after they're broken. But this is going to be potentially very useful, I would say, for things like Illusory Tower, where you need to break an enemy so they're not just like destroying your team. Breaking an enemy can be huge in this game, and I think for the first time ever, like looking at the JP tier list, I feel like they're undervaluing Mechamaru a little bit. I don't know if they've updated this necessarily since the hidden potential system has come out. When I looked at his page, like they had the hidden potential system in there and stuff and mentioned, so I'm assuming this is updated even after the hidden potential system. They still think he's A tier, but honestly, I think he has value. Eventually on global right now, I gotta just reiterate, he's not gonna have any of that. Okay, so don't come yelling at me later saying you told me he would have all this and he doesn't. Eventually he'll be better, but right now on global he's not the greatest, but a definite potential investment for the future of the game. Now on to Panda. Panda is in a similar boat to Mechamaru, so he is a character who is going to release and be very subpar. But he is going to get buffed in the future. So let's talk about what is going to change for him. So he revives when defeated 1 time per battle. That does not change at all, but that is still good. Similar to like Blue Itadori if you guys have him on global. So his skill 1, Panda Upper, just deals melee taijutsu damage to the selected enemy and decreases the enemy's damage by 15%. Post adjustment, it increases the amount of damage that you do to the enemy, and depending on your cursed energy, you can do additional damage now, and nothing else really changes besides that. The skill 1, I don't think is that crazy. Like, this buff isn't that crazy because it just allows you to do more damage. And honestly, I'm not going to be relying, if I'm using this Panda, he's a defender type unit, I'm not going to be relying on Panda to be my main damage dealer. Yes, the extra like chip damage is nice, but not all that necessary. And that's a lot of what this character's kit is revolved around, though, making a defender into an attacker. And I always, like, these characters always flop. I always hate seeing these characters because their stats aren't built. The character's not built to be an attacker. It just doesn't work great. Skill 2, I'll take it. Pre-adjustment skill, decreases own damage received by 10.5% for 2 turns, attracts the selected enemy's attack to self for 2 turns, decreases the selected enemy's critical hit resist by 30% for 2 turns. Now, post-adjustment, a few things change, right? So this first part stays the same, and then depending on how much cursed energy you have, you can get additional damage reduction, maxed out at 50 cursed energy, and then the other parts pretty much stay the same. So that's the main difference, is you can just get additional damage reduction on this skill too. However, then when the special hidden potential system comes out, we are going to buff this skill immensely, making Panda a much better unit. Okay, so previously he can only attract 1 enemy's attack for 2 turns. That's going to change right here. So he decreases his own damage received by 15% flat to start with, which is better than 10%. Depending on how many own curse energy he has when the skill is activated, he can get additional damage reduction, just like you saw before, and that's maxed at 50 cursed energy still. And then here's the important part: attracts all enemies' attacks to self for 1 turn. So now not only is he attracting 1 enemy's attacks, he can attract all enemies' attacks, and I think that is immensely better. And then while he does do that for 1 turn now, he still attracts the selected enemy's attack to himself for 2 turns. So that is pretty good. That's a much needed buff. And then decreases the selected enemy's critical hit resist by 30% still for 2 turns. And then this is the other important part, because sometimes you're not able to stop like AoE attacks and stuff like that, right? So it's nice to have this type of support here where he reduces all allies' damage received by 10% for 2 turns, and this excludes himself. But essentially what this means is if you use the skill twice in a row, you can give your allies 20% damage reduction and have this guy drawing aggro at the same time. Granted, he doesn't give himself 20% damage reduction, but still, that is nice for when you're taking on AoE attack bosses, so that is much better. Once again, though, to get this effect, you have to have this skill level maxed. Is it really going to be worth it in the end to max this character's skill level on JP, or like, well, on global eventually when it happens, but like, I have him on JP, and honestly, I don't think it's like worth the time, the investment, the resources to max this particular skill just to get this effect. That's just my opinion, though. I feel like personally, like when we're comparing skill 2s, I think the break damage from Mechamaru is more valuable than, you know, just being able to draw aggro of multiple opponents. But I don't know, they're 2 very different characters, so I mean, make your own judgments on what you think is better. Personally, I lean more towards Mechamaru for skill 2. For skill 3 here, Kalpa's does change a decent amount. So right here, it increases taijutsu damage by 10.5% for 3 turns, recovers own HP by 5%. The higher your Kalpa's count, the more HP you recover, and then removes all Kalpa's counts. The main thing that changes is the taijutsu damage, so it goes from increases by 10.5% to 5.1%, but then depending on how many Kalpas you have, you can increase your damage by up to 300%. So every 1 Kalpa is 100%, so that's going to be, you know, a 300% boost is a lot better than a 10% boost. That's a big boost to his taijutsu damage. Once again, this is a defender type unit. I find it kind of weird that we're building a defender type unit to do damage, but it is what it is, right? And then he gets a little bit more HP back post adjustment with 4 Kalpas counts. And then the ultimate here, Secret of the Gorilla. Pre-adjustment, deals 605% melee taijutsu damage to the selected enemy for 10 hits. Increases damage dealt depending on how many attacks have been received, up to 64%. That is going to change a little bit the percentage that you can do more damage to the enemy. Post-adjustment, that's actually really the main thing that changes here. So increases own damage by 10%. Overall, 1 time, increases damage dealt by up to 80% depending on how many attacks have been received. Max increase at 7 attacks. Deals 605% melee taijutsu damage to the select enemy for 10 hits. Deals 150% melee taijutsu damage to all enemies. Recovers own HP by 15% and resets the count of the attacks. I don't think he recovered HP before, so yeah, nothing else really changed, just 80% now. So not a super crazy adjustment there. It's a little bit better, I suppose. So I guess the idea is you're gonna use your Kalpas right here before you do your ult, and you want to have max Kalpus counts, or at least 3, so you get a 300% Taijutsu damage boost. After you get that 300% Taijutsu damage boost, then you're going to ult, and you're going to be able to do quite a bit of damage here if you've received 7 attacks. So you want to receive 7 attacks, you want to have 3 Kalpus counts, activate this, then ult. It's like very specific, and then all of a sudden your defender type unit can do a decent amount of damage, but like it's too much thinking. Too much thinking for a defender unit. It's really not that great. And then his pre-adjustment, auto skills, core switch, once again is the revival. Kalpus count is how he's going to heal. He gets 1 per turn no matter what. And then he gets a new buff, post-adjustment, where it's going to increase own damage dealt with each attack received by roughly 10%. Okay, so that's what you're going to be getting, and that's how you get the 80% extra damage on your ultimate as well. So nothing too crazy for Panda. I personally think out of the 2 characters, you know, they're both booty cheeks when they release on global. They're equal. They are equal when they release on global. I'm not going to lie to you. But in the future, I think Mechamaru has the advantage. I think he's going to be a very decent character for some people. I dare say one of the better yellow support break damage characters for some people by the time he comes out and gets buffed on global, because not everybody's going to have every character. So this is going to be actually a very valuable character for some people in comparison to Red Panda. Honestly, I think Junpei might be a better tank than Red Panda. I hate to say it, but I don't know. I've used him enough. I was excited when I had him on JP. I don't think he is the greatest character. Granted, right now on JP, I'm not using him with the buffed skill right here. I could get that skill to level 10, but like I said, it's just not even worth the investment overall. So if you guys are thinking about wasting some cubes, making some dumb decisions, out of the 2 characters, I would go for Mechamaru. If you are just going to use the free tickets and you're hoping to get lucky on one of the 2 banners, the banner you should be hoping to get lucky on is Mechamaru. But let me know your guys' thoughts down in the comments. Are you going to be summoning on these banners? Hopefully not. If you're free to play or light spender, you'll be skipping, right? But you know, I'm a big fan of bad decisions, so let me know if you're going to make some bad decisions below. Also, if they're your favorite characters, summon for your favorite characters. Let me know your guys' thoughts. If you guys enjoyed the video, please consider going down there, hitting that like button, hitting that subscribe button, and thank you guys so much for watching and supporting the channel. Peace. Oh, and I also have to add in, realistically, you really shouldn't summon for these characters, regardless of if you're free to play, light spending, whatever, because in March, we're going to get the standard banner pool update more than likely, and both of those characters are going to be added into the standard banner where you're able to just use tickets. So really, please don't use cubes on these characters. But if you're going to, let me know in the comments, because I'd love to see, you know, people making dumb decisions. I'll be one of those people. It's just, sometimes it's fun to summon for characters when you shouldn't. But yeah, okay, for real this time, peace.